down McDowell. McDowell's like going through Tijuana. The buildings are turquoise and yellow and pink, and it's Baja Marimba mariachi music from one end of McDowell to the other. It's like you're living in Little Mexico.
Well, they're you know, even Clinton predicted, and I remember putting this in the Free American, Jeff. He predicted that you know, by 2015, white people would be the minority.
Look what's going on in California. Last week there was a proposal to expand out with another almost Hispanic voting zone. And this is their modus operandi. Move into an area and so overpopulated that they can begin to dictate, yes, I said dictate, the direction government is going to go. You look, my brother works for Social Security. No, I'm sorry, he works for DES. And he has, after having gone somewhat unemployed for a number of years, he wound up getting a really marvelous job with the Department of Economic Security. The stories he tells me are unbelievable, but all they do is mirror stories that were told to me 30 years ago by a great aunt of mine who retired in the Illinois Department of Economic Security because one day a woman came in and, you know, she had recently moved to the state and she's applying for the local benefits, and my great aunt is having to interview her. How many children do you have? I got 8 children. This is in Chicago, by the way.
Okay.
And well, what is your husband's name? Well, husband, well, I ain't never been married. These are just, you know, these people are living high off the hog. They'll just crank out another kid with no thought of it because they're going to get X number of dollars a month in food and in health care, in welfare for the kid. They don't ever have to work. And this is what's wrong with all these government-subsidized entitlement programs. You start cutting this stuff back. You can't keep extending unemployment benefits forever and ever and ever. It's time to start taking that money and create real, meaningful jobs. Take away the tax incentives for these countries that are taking all their factories to Mexico and China and everywhere else.
Well, that's all part of the whole New World Order plan, but it's, their plan is to impoverish Americans. And now let me ask you this, too. I just came from the Tesla convention. I sold quite a few books over there, so few people are going to be educated. And you know, I've also been promoting the Liberty Village concept. Now, the Liberty Village concept, pretty simple. If you retake and put 10 people on an old, established family farm or ranch, and you generate your own energy from the sun or the wind or the magnetics that they don't allow in this country. And if you do that, and you grow your own food, then you're going to be healthier. You're going to be happier. You're not going to be dependent on the energy companies or the phone lines that they use to control you. And it almost occurred to me that maybe that was the reason they tried to kill me 7 years ago.
Well, certainly feasible. You know, I remember Thanksgiving weekend a good number of years ago. My wife and I finished Thanksgiving dinner and the kid, and we were taking off for parts unknown, and my kid said, "Dad and Mom, you guys go ahead and get out of here. We'll clean up the dishes, blah, 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 blah," which was great, and we headed over to your place in New Mexico. Now, it seems to me that where you lived was a reasonably windy location almost all the time, wasn't it?
Yes.
I lived in northern Arizona for a good number of years, up in the Flagstaff area. Very windy. Now all of a sudden, we've got a bunch of people like Pickens and God knows how many others, Obama, who wants all these wind farms. And anybody who's traveled from you know, Phoenix or Flagstaff or wherever and gone over to Los Angeles and gone through that area in California, was probably most well known for having the wind farms. The great big huge, they look like propellers off old World War II planes, to be honest with you. It takes so much energy for those things to create enough power. I read a report one time that said most of those darn wind farms over there would not create enough power to run one of the nuclear generators at the Palo Verde nuclear plant. But I look back to when I was growing up as a kid, and I look at where you used to live in New Mexico, and when I lived in northern Arizona. First of all, if you were fortunate, as I was at one time, to live out in Parks, Arizona, which is between Flagstaff and Williams, I had an address that was actually on the original Route 66. And, you know, you remember the old farm days where they had they had a little propeller-like device up there in the air that was pretty much driving their water pump? Because, you know, nobody had city water. They were all pumping it up out of the ground.
That's right.
And, you know, I've got quite a windy day here in Phoenix right now. I could probably be running one of those things in my backyard that generate a certain degree of power. But those little fans created a heck of a lot of power, and surprisingly enough. But now all of a sudden everybody's got all these deals. Let's go green. Let's double the requirement of gas mileage on these automobiles. We're going to downsize. You remember one of the reasons they got rid of the old Volkswagen Bug years ago is because it wouldn't meet specific requirements for the EPA, etc. And now look at the size of these cars. My God, some of these things are smaller than golf carts. And I wouldn't be caught dead in those things. In fact, if you were in them, you probably would be caught dead because they're so small. There's no protection. What's that one little car? It's called a twofer or something like that. And it looks like a golf cart that's already been sandwiched front and rear end. And I'm tired of government involvement telling us, you have to do this, you have to do that. I don't disagree, Clay. You and I grew up and we used to hear the term conservation. No, we are a very wasteful nation. But the crap that they're coming up with in this country, Obama sits up there saying, within X number of years, we want the minimum gas mileage on a car to be 54 miles per gallon.
We've had that. It's called a geek device. You could get that on your car right now, but they keep trying to put him in Paul Pantone. They put him in an insane asylum for 3.5 years.
Yep. Listen, it goes back a lot. I remember the old toilet paper filters. So much stuff like this. Look at what's the guy that they basically Tucker. There's a guy back in the 40s that develops the most innovative automobile, and General Motors and Ford and Chrysler, they were the big muckety-mucks back then. They're not going to allow some upstart auto manufacturer like this to come along and develop a car that's got seat belts in it, and it's got things like safety glass and headlights that turn with the direction of your steering wheel. They can't do that because that means if that car catches on, they've got to retool. They've got to start doing stuff like that. Well, ultimately, Tucker was ahead of his time because every one of those innovations he came up with that 50 cars he built, 40, some of which are still roadworthy today, they were all adapted by the big three auto manufacturers, but in their time and in their way when they could make it more profitable. And so, even if you want to look at, let's call it recent history, going back 60-some-odd years, it shows you exactly what, who controls it. Lobbyists and corporatocracy controls this government, not we the people. We send these characters to Washington, D.C., they stop acting for we the people. They go up there knowing they're not going to be acting for we the people. They're going to be acting for we the corporatocracy of America. And
corporatocracy of the world. I mean, come on, we built this country fighting the empire on which the sun never sets, and they just put us into that position, and they're using us the same way they use the English troops and the English ships and the English sailors, to bring the slaves over here to to come over and conquer the Indians, and we've done the same. We did the same thing to the Indians that we did to the Vietnamese, that we're doing to the Iraqis. We're poisoning them. We're killing them. We're starving them.
I remember being in Vietnam in the late 60s, and some of the people I associated most with on our post were civilians that were over there working for, various corporate concerns that were involved over there, and I can't think of the name of the company then, but that company later became known as Halliburton. So Halliburton is not something new that popped up during the Clinton years, folks. They were around in a different incarnation back in the Vietnam War. These wars today are nothing but, they're there for the purposes of business. We're fighting wars for businesses, so businesses can gain access to the control of the oil fields and the various different resources that are in those regions.
All of the oil,
our freedom, nothing.
all of the oil from Iraq is going straight into Israel, and all of our bases there are guarding the pipelines.
Sure, and yet when George Bush said we're going to Iraq, we're going to get Saddam out, and we're going to have this little war over there, etc., and all the oil that comes up out of the ground in Iraq will go to pay for our efforts in the war, and it was an outright lie. It's BS. Not one dime of that oil has gone to pay for that war.
Well, no. They did send a lot of that money. They did give a lot of that money to Halliburton to rebuild all the shit that we blew up.
Sure. So it's a round robin. It's a I hate to say it, it's a massive circle jerk we're living through in this country today, and that'll offend, I'm sure, some of our listeners.
Okay, if you can go back to the land, go back to the farms, reestablish what Richard Kelly Hoskins called a self-sufficient family farm. You can do it if you work together, but they have set this all up to convince you that you can't do it, you can't work together, only government is the answer, and this is all the propaganda that's being fed to you on the radio. But if you want to get away from propaganda, tell them how they can get your show, Jeff.
You'll find me from, I don't know where the majority of your audience is located, we'll just say from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. Each Monday through Friday at republicbroadcasting.org. And like I say, the program's called Life, Liberty, and all that jazz. I've been able to, most of the time, wind up doing the program with very minimal commercialization. And to say, I went back to that network purely for economic reasons, and it was it's been good. It's allowed me to buy a house for my daughter and the grandkids, and but I keep busy. You know my work ethic. You know the hours I work. I don't generally get rolling this early in the morning, but I'm typically up till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Between federalobserver.com, goldenira.net, and I think the last time I was up on the air with you, you had some folks that have been raked over the coals with some of these individual retirement accounts through precious metals dealers, and
yes.
I was able to help a couple of people, and other folks were pretty far into their own legal stuff anyway. There wasn't much I could do but add some more positive information to the foray. I still manage drkelly.info, which deals with alternative health issues, predominantly dealing with cancer. So I've got more than enough to keep me going. Still got a family to work with and take care of, and then do the broadcast. So yeah, I still work long hours.
All right, Jeff Bennett, thank you for being.
Recording has been completed.
Thank you for being with me, Jeff, and I think we are to take some time to get together. Either I'll come up there, or you come down here. I mean, I don't even think you don't even have a signed copy of my books yet. So.
No, I don't. This much I know. It's what is today? Today the 15th of.
Yeah, I'm going to be coming up through there. I'm going to go over to Quartzsite and see what the hell is going on there at the 27th, I believe that is.
Oh, what a nightmare that is. Good God. A few days later, I'll probably be coming through Tucson, but I've got to make a mad dash to northern Texas, north central Texas, and get some work done and try to be back here by Tuesday. And I may not even come back that quickly. I may just take my time and see some other folks while I'm there. But yeah, we'll get together, man.
All right. Jeff Bennett,
all right.
Thank you. God bless you.
Bye.
Keep doing what you're doing. All right, folks. Go to freeamerican.com, hear all the shows, listen to everything that's been going on, and give me a call, order some books. We've got new ways to listen to the show, thanks to Octagon up on my site. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Don't know if we got any answers. Don't know if we're doing everything right. But we keep trying. God bless you. Thanks for listening.